Seniors, hold on, there are 9 foods you must never put in the refrigerator, and the reasons will surprise you. Could it be that your fridge is quietly harming your health every single day? Sounds far-fetched, right? But inside that cold box, there are everyday foods that react poorly to refrigeration in ways most older adults are never told. And this goes far beyond losing taste or texture. We're talking about harmful chemical reactions, disappearing nutrients, and even the growth of dangerous bacteria triggered by cold storage. Here's the shocking part: more than 99% of people over 60 still store these foods in the fridge without realizing the toll it's taking on their gut, heart, and even brain. Some researchers now believe that our modern obsession with refrigeration may be fueling the rise of chronic disease. But today, we're cutting through the myths and exposing the real science. In this video, you'll discover 9 foods that should never be refrigerated, and how to keep them safely the right way. And wait until you hear about number 2. That one might shock you the most. Every fact we share is backed by peer-reviewed studies. Now, let's begin. Number 9. Potatoes. This one will surprise you. Storing potatoes in the refrigerator can actually create a toxic chemical. No exaggeration here. Cold temperatures convert the natural starches inside potatoes into sugars. This process is called cold-induced sweetening. And here's why it's dangerous. When you later cook those refrigerated potatoes at high heat, the sugars react with amino acids to produce acrylamide, a compound the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies as a probable human carcinogen. A team from the University of Idaho found that potatoes kept in fridge conditions developed 300% more sugar content in only 2 weeks. That's triple the sugar, and it happens shockingly fast. They tested more than 500 potato samples across different types, and the results were consistent every time. The texture suffers too. Cold temperatures disrupt the potato's cell structure, leaving them gritty, oddly sweet, and far less appetizing. If your mashed potatoes have ever tasted strangely off, the fridge may be to blame. So what's the safe way to store potatoes? Keep them in a cool, dark place at about 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. A pantry, a cellar, or even a cardboard box in a closet will do. Darkness is crucial because exposure to light triggers solanine, the green chemical that makes potatoes toxic. Always use a paper bag or a breathable basket. Never plastic. Plastic traps moisture and encourages rotting. And here's a little known trick: store potatoes far from onions. Both give off natural gases that spoil the other faster. Ideally, keep them at least 3 feet apart. When stored properly, potatoes can last as long as 3 months. In the fridge, they'll go bad in just 2 weeks. Number 8. Bread. This one catches almost everyone by surprise. Your fridge doesn't keep bread fresh longer. In fact, it makes bread stale faster. Sounds counterintuitive, but the science is very clear. Cold storage speeds up a process called starch retrogradation. That's when starch molecules harden and force out moisture. Researchers at the Institute of Food Technologists tested this and found that bread kept in the fridge staled up to 6 times faster than bread at room temperature. 6 times. They measured the firmness of bread crumbs and saw that refrigerated bread turned dry and crumbly within 3 days. Bread at room temperature stayed soft and tasty for a full week. The fridge also ruins the flavor. It kills off the natural volatile compounds that give fresh bread its warm, irresistible smell. When bread sits in the cold, its delicate compounds break down quickly. That's why your taste buds aren't deceiving you when refrigerated bread turns into something that tastes like cardboard. The smarter way to store bread is in a bread box or a paper bag at room temperature. The container should allow just enough air circulation to prevent mold, while keeping enough humidity to maintain softness. And if you can't finish a loaf within a week, here's the best trick. Slice it first, then freeze it. Freezing locks in freshness far better than refrigeration, because the process happens so fast that ice crystals don't have time to damage the bread's structure. When you're ready to enjoy it, take a frozen slice and pop it straight into the toaster. It will taste almost as fresh as the day you bought it. The golden rule is this: freezer to toaster. Never thaw on the counter. That's when moisture problems begin. Archaeologists have uncovered jars of honey sealed in Egyptian tombs that were more than 3,000 years old, and still safe to eat. But if you place honey in your refrigerator, you'll ruin it in just a few weeks. Cold temperatures make honey crystallize quickly. While not dangerous, this changes everything about honey's texture and usability. What was once a smooth golden liquid becomes a gritty, hard lump that won't dissolve properly. And there's a bigger risk: condensation. Each time you pull that jar out of the fridge, cold glass meets warm air, forming moisture inside the container. Moisture is honey's greatest enemy, according to research from the National Honey Board. Honey stored below 50 degrees Fahrenheit loses up to 35% of its natural antimicrobial power, the very compounds that make it a natural antibiotic. Ancient cultures used honey to heal wounds because of these properties, and refrigeration destroys them. The flavor shifts, too. Honey is a complex blend of more than 180 compounds that create its unique taste. Cold storage makes these compounds break down unevenly, leaving your raw, high-quality honey tasting flat, almost like cheap sugar syrup. The right way to store honey is at room temperature in a tightly sealed jar, ideally between 64 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and always out of direct sunlight. If your honey does crystallize, don't throw it away. Simply place the jar in a bowl of warm water and stir gently until it melts back to liquid. The healing properties will return without being lost. And here's a little known fact: the darker the honey, the higher its antioxidant content. But those valuable antioxidants are more sensitive to cold than the lighter varieties. So refrigeration damages dark honey even faster. Number 6. Coffee. Coffee lovers, prepare for some hard truth. That expensive coffee you're storing in the fridge, you're ruining it. The refrigerator is coffee's worst enemy. Here's why. Coffee beans are porous. They act like sponges, absorbing odors and flavors from everything nearby. And what's your refrigerator full of? Leftover stir, fry, half-open cheese, sauces, and who knows what else. Every time you reach for the beans, they've already been soaking in that mix of smells. That's why your morning coffee sometimes tastes strange. But smell contamination is only the beginning. The fridge environment constantly shifts in temperature, causing condensation to form on the beans. This moisture accelerates aging, destroys aroma, and can even trigger mold. Research from the Specialty Coffee Association shows that beans kept in the fridge lose 60% of their aromatic compounds in just 1 week. And remember, those oils in coffee beans, the ones that carry most of the flavor, harden in cold air. When you grind cold beans, the oils don't extract properly. The result is a weak, flat, lifeless cup of coffee. The right way to protect coffee is simple. Store it in an opaque, airtight container at room temperature, ideally between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, with little to no fluctuation. Never leave beans in clear containers. Light will degrade them just as quickly. And buy smaller batches, just enough to last about 2 weeks. Once a bag is opened, the countdown begins, and oxygen is coffee's other worst enemy. Some enthusiasts invest in vacuum-sealed containers. But honestly, buying fresh in smaller amounts is the most practical solution. And if you truly need long-term storage, skip the fridge altogether. The freezer is actually a better option than refrigeration, as it avoids the odor and condensation issues that ruin your brew. But here's the catch: coffee can only be frozen once. The trick is to divide it into weekly portions before freezing. Place each portion into airtight bags and only remove what you'll use. Never refreeze coffee. The moisture damage caused by repeated thawing and refreezing permanently ruins its quality. Number 5. Garlic. Storing garlic in the refrigerator is not just a mistake, it can actually be dangerous. Not only does garlic lose its potency, but in the wrong conditions it can harbor harmful growths, and for seniors who rely on garlic for its health benefits, this is critical. When kept in the fridge, garlic begins to sprout. Those green shoots don't just look unappealing, they're bitter and can upset digestion. But that's not the worst part. The cold, damp environment encourages mold. Some molds on garlic produce mycotoxins, compounds that can be seriously harmful. Researchers at the University of California, Davis, found that refrigerated garlic loses half of its allicin content within only 10 days. Allicin is the powerful compound responsible for garlic's antibacterial, antiviral, and heart protective effects. Refrigerating garlic is like throwing away 50% of its healing properties. the texture breaks down too. Cold temperatures damage garlic's cell structure, turning it soft and mushy. Try mincing refrigerated garlic, and you'll see instead of crisp pieces, it becomes a sticky paste. The right way to store garlic is in a cool, dry place with airflow. A mesh bag or basket is perfect. Aim for a temperature of about 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Never seal garlic in plastic or airtight containers, since it needs to breathe. Keep it out of direct sunlight, which can make it bitter, and away from the stove, where heat and steam make it sprout quicker. Stored properly, a whole garlic bulb can last up to 6 months. Once you break the bulb apart, use the cloves within about 10 days for the best flavor and strength. Here's a cooking secret. Garlic kept at room temperature actually delivers more flavor. The essential oils that carry its taste need to remain fluid. Cold stiffens them, dulling the aroma. Properly stored garlic makes your dishes taste noticeably richer. Number 4. Bananas. Bananas and refrigerators simply don't mix. Put a banana in the fridge, and it quickly turns into a black, mushy mess. But the real damage goes deeper than just looks. The cold causes what scientists call chilling injury. Bananas are tropical fruits. Their cells were never designed to withstand cold. When exposed to low temperatures, the cell walls rupture, enzymes spill out, and the fruit begins to break down from within. According to a study by the Queensland Department of Agriculture, bananas stored below 56 degrees Fahrenheit lose as much as 80% of their vitamin C within only 5 days. Worse, refrigeration halts their natural ripening process. Normally, bananas continue developing beneficial compounds as they ripen. Cold storage shuts this process down completely. The blackened skin is more than cosmetic. It's a sign that the fruit's defenses have collapsed. Those brown patches are areas of dead tissue, and dead tissue is where bacteria and mold begin to grow, even before you can see it. The right way to store bananas is at room temperature, ideally between 56 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Hanging them on a banana hook prevents bruising and allows the ethylene gas they produce to circulate, ensuring proper ripening. Here's a little trick most supermarkets won't tell you. You can actually control the speed of ripening. To make bananas ripen faster, place them in a paper bag with an apple. To slow them down, separate the bunch and wrap each stem with plastic wrap. This reduces ethylene gas release by up to 40%. And once they reach your favorite ripeness, you can place them in the fridge for just 1 or 2 days at most. The peel will blacken, but the inside will stay fine. An even better option, peel and freeze them. Frozen bananas are perfect for smoothies. Number 3. Onions. Storing onions in the fridge might be the single biggest storage mistake people make. And the damage starts immediately. Here's what happens the very moment you shut that refrigerator door on onions. The humidity inside a fridge usually hovers around 95%. But onions thrive in an environment with 65% humidity or less. That excess moisture seeps through their papery outer layers, creating the perfect breeding ground for mold. And black mold on onions produces aflatoxins, some of the most cancer-causing substances known to science. But the danger starts even before mold appears. Cold air converts onion starches into sugars. Researchers at Texas University discovered that onions stored in the fridge had a sugar increase of 270% after just 2 weeks. That completely changes their flavor and how they cook. Imagine making French onion soup that tastes oddly sweet, almost like dessert. The texture doesn't survive either. Cold causes ice crystals to form inside the onion cells, rupturing them. Once this happens, the onion becomes soft, mushy, and loses its ability to caramelize. Those rich, golden brown onions you see in restaurants. Impossible to achieve with refrigerated onions. The correct way to store whole onions is in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated place. A pantry or cellar is ideal. Keep the temperature between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Never use plastic bags. Onions need airflow, so choose a mesh bag, basket, or even a pair of clean pantyhose. And remember this rule from earlier: never store onions next to potatoes. They release gases that spoil each other faster. Also, avoid direct sunlight, which triggers sprouting. Once an onion is cut, however, everything changes. Cut onions must be refrigerated in an airtight container and used within about 7 days. The exposed surface is vulnerable to bacteria, so refrigeration is necessary here. But whole onions, they should never go in the fridge. Number 2, tomatoes. Now we've arrived at the food that shocks people the most, tomatoes. The truth about refrigerating tomatoes is so unsettling that many refuse to accept it. But the science is undeniable. Researchers at the University of Florida made a groundbreaking discovery. Refrigeration doesn't just alter tomato texture or taste. It actually switches off their genes. Specifically, the genes responsible for producing the compounds that give tomatoes their flavor. And once those genes are silenced, they never fully recover. Even if you take the tomato back out of the fridge and let it warm up, the damage is permanent. The study examined more than 25,000 tomato genes and found that temperatures below 54 degrees Fahrenheit deactivated hundreds of them. In essence, the tomato stops being a tomato at the genetic level. What you're left with is a red, watery balloon with little taste and reduced nutrition. For seniors, this is especially concerning because tomatoes are among the richest natural sources of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant known to protect against heart disease and certain cancers. Cold storage slashes lycopene availability by up to 65%. But here's the real kicker. Lycopene must pair with certain enzymes to be absorbed by the body. Refrigeration destroys those enzymes entirely, which means even the remaining 35% becomes useless. On a microscopic level, the destruction is even clearer. Ice crystals form between tomato cell walls, puncturing them. That's why refrigerated tomatoes turn mushy and grainy. Their cellular structure has been shredded from within. So how should you store them? Keep tomatoes at room temperature, always stems side down. This prevents moisture from slipping through the scar and keeps bacteria out. The best temperature is between 55 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep them out of direct sunlight, but don't lock them in a dark cupboard either. They need indirect light to preserve nutrients. And one golden rule: never seal tomatoes in plastic bags. Tomatoes naturally release ethylene gas, which must escape. If trapped, it accelerates decay. A single spoiled tomato in a plastic bag can destroy the entire batch within 24 hours. Ripe tomatoes should be eaten within 3 to 5 days. If you have too many, the smart move is to cook them into sauce and freeze it. Cooking actually boosts lycopene bioavailability, and freezing locks it in perfectly. Number 1, avocados. And we've saved the most important for last. What refrigeration does to avocados should almost be considered a crime. The destruction is so complete, so devastating, that compared to avocados, all the other foods on this list feel like minor concerns. Avocados are packed with more than 20 essential nutrients. They are one of the very few fruits that deliver healthy fats, especially oleic acid, a compound that plays a critical role in brain health for seniors. But the refrigerator destroys those very fats through a process called lipid peroxidation. In cold temperatures, the fats inside the avocado oxidize quickly, generating harmful free radicals instead of nourishing compounds. Researchers at Stanford University found that avocados kept in the fridge lost 90% of their antioxidant activity within only 4 days. 90%. Those antioxidants, including vitamins C and E, are exactly what make avocados so valuable to older adults. They help reduce inflammation, protect eyesight, and even improve nutrient absorption from other foods. But here's the most shocking part. Refrigeration doesn't just stop avocados from ripening. It activates an enzyme that actually destroys the fruit from the inside out. This enzyme, called polyphenol oxidase, is the same one responsible for browning. But in the cold, it goes into overdrive, breaking down cell walls and converting healthy compounds into bitter, sometimes even harmful, byproducts. The change in texture is permanent. Those silky, creamy avocados you love become stringy, watery disappointments. The fats separate from the fiber, leaving behind an oily, unpleasant mess that cannot be mashed properly. Your guacamole is doomed before you even start. So how do you store avocados the right way? Keep unripe avocados at room temperature, ideally between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Place them in a bowl on the counter, not inside a sealed bag, since they need airflow to ripen naturally. Want to speed things up? Put them in a paper bag with a banana. The ethylene gas from the banana cuts ripening time nearly in half. Once ripe, Avocados can be placed in the fridge for a maximum of 2 to 3 days, if absolutely necessary. But be warned, the quality still drops significantly. A smarter strategy is to buy avocados at different stages of ripeness, so you always have one ready at the perfect moment. And if you cut an avocado but don't use the entire fruit, here's the secret to keeping it fresh. Leave the pit in the unused half, brush the exposed surface with lemon juice, and store it in an airtight container, along with a slice of onion. The sulfur compounds in the onion prevent browning without affecting taste. This method keeps cut avocados fresh for up to 2 days at room temperature. The difference between a properly stored avocado and one ruined in the refrigerator is like night and day. When stored correctly, you preserve those brain-boosting fats, keep the smooth, creamy texture, and retain all the age-fighting nutrients your body needs. At the end of the day, the truth about refrigeration has been hidden for far too long. These 9 foods represent more than just wasted groceries. They represent lost nutrition, lost money, and lost health benefits that matter most in your golden years. Every nutrient counts when you're fighting the effects of aging, maintaining memory, and protecting your body. Don't let your refrigerator quietly sabotage your efforts. Store these foods the right way and reclaim their full nutritional power. Your body deserves nothing less than the very best, and now you know how to give it exactly that. So tell us in the comments, which of these foods shocked you the most, and have you been refrigerating it for years without realizing the damage? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Thanks for watching.